Yes.
Pat's here, Donna's here, Doug's here, Sue Ella's here, John's here, Ellen's here, Dan, David's here, Amy and Kemp, Brian Scott, Marissa. She's gonna help us now, because I'm lost. Ally's here, and Jeff Putnam's here, so that's good. Okay, could I have a motion to approve the agenda? Pat? Second,
Second.
Kathy? Any discussion? All in favor?
It's small.
Aye.
Longer than John likes it.
Yeah, go fast. Minutes, we just dropped them off, so take a couple of minutes and look at it.
Right. Got something?
Yeah, well, the VE items, it wasn't an $8 million target, it wasn't a $2.8 million target,
Yes,
Yes.
so it's page 2.
I told.
I was gonna say, we definitely missed the $8 million.
What number, Dave?
It's part of A, it's the
Bottom
1,
line.
2, 3,
Got
the
it.
third to last paragraph where it says coffee schedule issues.
Yep.
VE items, bottom line,
Should be
bottom line
2.8.
didn't hit. 2.8.
I like the 8 better.
I like the 8
Well,
better.
The money we got is the same, it's just we just been further off the target.
Much further.
Just don't want to see that article in the paper.
Right. Number, letter E,
Yeah.
bands?
Yeah,
Is that
they-
bonds or
No, it's
is it actually bands? What does that mean?
bank anticipation notes.
Ah, so are they all?
Look at
Several,
There you go. Line at the end.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
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 Mhm.
So if we have two changes, one instead of 8 million, it's 2.8 million. The other one is all capitals, bands, bank anticipation notes.
I'll approve the minutes as amended.
I'll second that.
Okay. And I'm on. Further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Thank you. Public participation? Nobody? Okay. Dan,
The man.
the man.
Pressure's on.
Yeah.
What is this?
Oh, good evening, everyone, or late afternoon. In the packet that Ed provided to you, I'll be referring to project commentary and cost and schedule. And then to your visual aids, right after those documents are the pretty pictures. Looks like this is from the drone picture, the day of our event. Gives you a remembrance of where the different areas of the building are. And the photos can give you just some idea as to where we were, literally a few weeks back. So for overall project commentary and work in place, working around the structure in the order of foundation placement. Area D, we've gone through and finished up the underslab work and we've placed that slab. Presently, we've actually gone further now. We've constructed the CMU on the Route 8 side of the building. That's almost up. It'll be finished up tomorrow. And then on the interior, the first course is what we call it when they finish their layout and they lay the first course of block. And then they have about 4 or 5 days. So they'll raise the CMU to roof level in there. On area B, our academic and the longest duration of our project here is moving along well. I think at the time of our meeting and the topping out, our structure was complete. I see that we placed the slab in the month of May. So that wrapped up the slabs in there. You can see from the aerial picture, the green board that's in the lower level. That means that framing is up and the gypboard sheathing or exterior membrane of the building is on at that point in the picture. At this point in time, the entirety of what we call the outer radius, it has been framed, signed off by the framing inspector. And that green board is racing its way from the left side of area B towards the right. So that's current. And then a couple of things I noted from the past is that framing on the interior and MEP, we started that sequence on the lower level. We're now at the first level. Ductwork is in its second week of installation. So we move the ductwork to level 2 the next week on Tuesday. Interiors are moving along at a 2-week per floor pace. And we have a little bit more time than that because we can't get to where we pull interior wiring until the envelope of the building is complete. So I did make one shift in our sequence of work this month, and that's we're going to go from the 3rd level of B and drop down and continue that framing pattern, ductwork pattern in the 1st floor of area A. That allows more time for the roof membrane to move across area B, and then we'll finish both B and A upper level floor at the end of those 2 sequences. So they're moving along well. Framer's keeping up. Framer is now up to 18 people working on primarily that exterior envelope of the building. I think I've said a couple of times in previous meetings, that's now the critical path. We got to push that work forward as fast as possible. We need the outside of the building to frame up to the roof level before the roofing can go. So that's what happened, or that's what's currently happening in B. In A, previous information was we had placed slabs. Of course, all 4 levels of slab are placed at this point. The fireproofer is in there now. He's on the 2nd level. He's finished 1, he's moved up to 2. So again, that process moves up. Again, he's a little bit ahead of where the mechanical guy needs to go because the mechanical guy still has 3 weeks left in area B before he moves down. So he's more critical on the exterior. So actually what he's spraying for us as the primary critical path activity is the exterior face of the beams that face the pond so that we can keep the framer moving. Right now, I just want to comment that PDC has deep resources. They are performing for us very well. As soon as we can open up areas, they're like a caged tiger. They want to keep adding manpower and keep pushing, which, overall for the project, our primary goal is to get all the exterior envelope finished, including the brick veneer on 85% of this building before we get to December 15th. It's all about trying to get the brick veneer on the building before we have to introduce cold weather protection. So that's the work that's going on in A. As you move around the circle, we finished erecting E and F. You were there for the topping out for those who can make it. Currently, the roof deck is across area F. In area C was the next mobilization and why we had that massive crane to build the project. Area C is now erected. The auditorium is a sight to see. It really is the part of the structural steel system is the catwalk system that's hung from the structural steel, so that's actually been erected as well. So you really get a good feel for the space when you walk into the courtyard and you're looking at what is now a very condensed site with the full auditorium.
Right, the auditorium around, it's beautiful, it really is.
It's quite a sight to see as you walk through that courtyard. So in area C, we did as much underground as we could get in without, didn't get to slabs, but we got to the point where everything was rough graded. And then we stood that portion of the building up. The crane did go away. Last week on Friday was its last day and it pulled out. The smaller crane was brought in to erect the last piece of area G, where we finished off what would be the middle school cafeteria roof area. And we needed to erect the first portion of the middle school gym in order to tie all that decking in for the roof. So I jumped out of order or not? No?
The crane, it took 12 trucks to get the crane out.
Yeah.
I believe.
I thought.
I was behind one.
Oh, yeah.
And as I was pulling out, we wanted them off the site on that particular day, so it was about 6:15, 6:30. And they took the body of the crane itself, you know,
Oh,
which
wow.
takes a semi of its own, and it was sitting out on the Winthrop. So they managed to get it all out.
Yeah,
Um,
how they maneuver the vehicle with that much is just unbelievable, like out and down Winthrop. It's like, oh my God, it's amazing.
that reminds me to speak to the auditorium has really long beam across the roof span. It was an 85-foot beam, needed a special trailer. So that 85-foot beam left Quebec area. And then, you know, took the 2.5 days down to get down here. And it was, you know, it had trucks on both sides of it. And, you know, normal truck is 53 feet long. You can picture something that's like almost double that. And it can't travel at night, so it pulls in at like 4 o'clock in the afternoon, you know. It was, again, something to see. Those massive members are now up in the air. And everything's gone smoothly. Overall erection met our target, finished literally 2 days ahead of what we had given them for a schedule to meet. And so we're pleased with that. Presently, just as far as the work going on, roofing membrane has, or roofing materials started to hit the site on Tuesday. We had 3 trucks of roof insulation on Tuesday. We had another 7 today. So not a crane, but not as big as that crane, is currently on site to hoist all that material. We brought in the material to roof areas B and A. Currently, the parapet is framed all the way across B. There's about 30% finished on the interior courtyard side. They have about 9 or 10 days left before that area will be completely framed up. The roofing membrane, Subtown is on the game. They've got a couple of weeks worth of woodwork to do on the roof before they can start placing insulation and rolling membrane. Other work that's ongoing, they're now finishing up the area C steel as far as the roof decking goes and finishing the welds and the bolt tightening, plumbing, that type of work. So they've got another week or so in that, maybe 4 days. And then we come back in and we'll finish off slabs on grade. That would be the stage slab, the corridor behind the stage, behind the auditorium on the west side of the building. And then there's a couple of small elevated slabs that go in area C. In area E and F, we placed all the slabs in E last week, and yesterday and today we placed the last 2 slabs of area F. So the only remaining concrete to place in this portion of the building is area C. We've also mobilized our abatement demolition contractor. The awning structure that's hidden behind your area C with a red shed roof. We've cut off services as of this morning. All of the services between the existing building and that awning have been separated for demolition. The abatement contractor has a small scope of work. It's not nearly as long as I had worried about. Except they did find one So what they do when they show up is they break open the walls to make sure what they find is what they expected to find. And we found on a positive note that some of the insulation was not the old style asbestos insulation, it's regular fiberglass insulation. Unfortunately, in other places, they found that there's a mastic material on the inside of that chase, a black, usually a tar type product that somebody used for waterproofing. And they've sent it out for sampling. We're waiting to get the information back to see if it has to be handled as an ACM product. But we are anticipating that awning structure to be down on the ground a week from tomorrow. So provided everything goes smoothly with the removal, we'll be done with that on Monday and we'll get an air clearance and then we'll tear that awning structure down. Recall then we have plumbing work, foundations to bring the new building up to the existing building. Once those are done, we have the crane comes back, the smaller crane will erect the middle school gym. So that's all kind of described in our project commentary for you for a page or two. And then I will update you on cost and schedule. Or I do, I'll slip back. Overall percentage complete at this point is roughly 23%. And that's again a cost basis of the project. That gives you just an idea. We're almost a quarter of the way into this job financially for decisions that you have to make later. Cost and schedule issues. I started with the same thing that I mentioned last month, that VE work that we did. We've gotten we're now at a point of 2.47 million. We have two more with a potential third that we might get a little bit of money of cost items to get inked, and then we'll be able to close that out. But it does represent roughly estimated at this point, 276K will come from the owner's contingency to offset what we weren't able to get out of that $2.8 million attempt to save. We closed out the building alignment item. It's now settled at 26K. And then again, that was just where this building aligns with the existing gym to remain. It turns out that the existing gym was just slightly farther away. It was 1.5 feet in this direction and 6 inches off in that direction. So we had to purchase a little bit more steel to tie the new structure into the old. So I don't know how much I explained about detention basins, but we ran into rock as soon as we started with the detention basin. First, we had an issue where we had to resolve change in design because we were working around some obstacles, some utility conflicts. So we actually settled on a $15,000 cost. And then we started work, and then we hit ledge. And then there's been a new redesign. So now there's currently, instead of one detention basin on the west side of the building, there will be two, one on the west that's much smaller where the rock is, and one that lands between the new building and the existing building. So because we're working in two different areas, I haven't received pricing yet, but I'm estimating that new cost to be about $15,000. And then we have an old cost for the detention area that's located next to the pond. Again, they haven't produced a price, but I'm carrying a number in my estimates at 20,000. The one big change, besides, I think we had some stone issue, that was about 30 grand. We had one problem that we found in the power distribution system that's now been inked. The change is worth 36,000. That goes against owner contingency, and those two are really your two biggest and only issues that we found against the owner's costs so far. Alternative lighting plan is actually now a savings. We simplified because we just couldn't fit recessed lights around the perimeter of the radial corridor. Where there was light coffers that would have been like wall washer lights. That depth of those fixtures and the amount of utility work that fits in that ceiling couldn't make full fit. So with the redesign, it came to kind of an interesting light pattern that sits within the grid. And that new light pattern ultimately saves the project some money. I don't know if I didn't put a dollar value in here. It's about 12,000 savings. Next item is mine. So the thermal paint that I had spoken to, the thermal paint we bought, or I didn't purchase it at the buyout. In other words, in the bid document development, I didn't assign that scope of work clearly to the painter. And so it's an add cost. And so the original numbers were very high. We went and we released the work on area B at a cost of 28,000 to see where that cost would land and negotiate the balance of the cost. On a positive note, it didn't take the man hours that they had predicted, so they were negotiating and we were working towards a $75,000 cost for the remainder of the building. And then they found a bust in their material cost takeoff. That resulted in a net cost to the project of $126,000 to finish the balance of the building. Again, it's a buyout problem, which is what the CM contingency is there for. It's when I put the bid documents out, I didn't buy that scope of work. It's not as if, you know, the project is exposed to this cost in entirety. If we had put it in the bid documents, it would have been there. It's just higher because we're negotiating change order. So that's the big nut to the CM side of the contingency. And I mentioned the CE 127 just because I do foresee a significant cost. I keep the comments to this document in orders of magnitude around 15 to 20,000 or greater. Little nuanced problems, there's just too many and they don't add up to much. So in the auditorium, there was a decision made recently to safe off or provide a security to the access to the spiral stair that takes you up to the catwalk. And so SLAM in their review of that thought about that and said maybe we need to add a partition wall and a door. And in the auditorium, those walls can be tall, that cost can be great. So could be in the order of magnitude of about 20,000. The list is short. Generally, I mean, overall for a project, we're doing well financially and we're doing well on changes to date.
And Dan, how many for the VE, because you see that's, you know, changing at 127, but how many of those were actually VE? You know, how many change events do we have out here that are related just to clearing up all the VE items?
30.
At least 30, probably 30, say 40 to 45.
And just as, you know, normally you see 100, more than 100 changes so far, you think, well, that's a lot, but there's a whole bunch that we knew we were going into this with, so it's
Right.
the
Create a
total
change
number of
event
changes, right?
for every dollar change that moves money between trades. So as Dave mentioned, you know, if you take the 45 out of that were related to VEs, there's only been 80.
Well, and then a lot of those are trade allowances too, right?
And trade allowances account for 28 of those or 40, more than 20.
More than that, man.
So yes, I mean, again, the number of things that the trades are bringing and squawking about is less than typical. And we've found some issues in the documents. We found some things that we didn't buy. But overall, the magnitude and quantity are small. So I would bring to the ASIs, PRs. Again, very small. RFI numbers is high, but they're not yielding cost. You know, they're getting clarifications and they're moving forward without submitting cost to us. So again, two ASIs in the month and 3 PRs is not a lot. And again, no real significant dollar value except for the one I mentioned for the auditorium. So some effort was put in the next following page regards to the schedule. Some effort was put into the schedule this month, working with our scheduler in-house and trying to project out further. Currently, we know that the trade, right now, if I follow the critical path through the schedule, we're completing the building 2 to 3 months in advance of when I feel experience tells me we're actually going to get to the end. So we're still in a very comfortable position on the schedule, but I need to reflect to the trades exactly when certain items are going to be coming down the path. So my focus as I move, you know, from structural steel into interior development, it's been my pattern that's when I really fine line the schedule and look ahead and develop procurement matrices for things like the stage curtains, the auditorium seating, the walk-in cooler, all the nuance items that can have longer leads. And so we're at a point now where everybody's such a big job and these items are far enough out. We don't have any issues. The ones that on the procurement basis, the ones that really keep me focused at the beginning are the exterior cladding items. So brick veneer has been secured. All of our brick has been fabricated. Cast stone, the headers that sit over the windows, those have been fabricated. We received our first delivery of that. The aluminum windows were the next on my radar. The aluminum is about 6 weeks remaining before the aluminum hits the fabricator shop, which falls properly in, I won't be ready for it for 8 weeks. So that's on track. And glazing, the exterior windows themselves can take a long lead. All those products have been approved. We're waiting information on the actual availability of glass. It doesn't slow down the interior work because we plug all of the openings in the building with temporary plastic. So once the green board goes on the outside, you'll see a window opening and then you'll see it either filled with plastic if it's above grade level. If it's on grade level, it's filled with plywood. And that's part of just a security protocol written into our front end. So overall on schedule, I think the fact that we're at the end of structural steel, moving into exterior work and the roof membrane right on time. And exterior brick materials are available. Masons are chomping at the bit to get going. So we have everyone's attention and we're moving.
And they're bringing in the brick, 5 loads.
Yep, we had a meeting today as far as we got 5 more loads of the regular red brick. We have 3 loads. The section that's green on your pretty picture turns into white ground face block. So if you've gone by the mock-up that's outside the field office, you'll see portions are white. That's what you'll see in white when the building is built. The upper floors are all in red brick. The other ground face is the auditorium. So that makes it, again, a kind of a substantial feature in the center of the building. And then ground face is and metal panel more so on what will be area E and the finished renovation of the gym and new entry. So I'm hoping you all enjoyed that groundbreaker, that topping out ceremony. I thought that was a good day. We had a good group, we had a good beam. All the pieces of the building came together well.
Didn't break up the beat.
It fit.
Yeah, so when they're meeting with the Mason, I was there, and at the end I told John, I think it's John,
John.
you better make that nice veneer beautiful, and he said he would, so. See what happens.
Yeah, they recently finished up a project at West Point, in which they did some really beautiful ornamental stone product work on that building. So I know they have the resources, they have the people. We have to get them integrated into the project.
Any questions for Dan? You have a question?
Yes, sir. This Light Cove thing, Danny.
Yeah.
Where is it? It is
PR18.
right? So what's replacing it?
So instead of the ceiling going to the coffer and having like a 6-inch wide by 8-inch deep light pocket,
Right,
the ceiling goes to the wall.
okay,
It's gonna be the same recessed linear fixtures that you'll see elsewhere in all the corridors. It's just we had to rearrange them.
okay,
So the corridor is wider there than in other areas.
all right. In my opinion, but I'm sure you'll straighten me out, is this Light Cove is labor intensive. Very
Yes.
labor intensive.
There's labor for the light. Yeah, that's why we ended up in a credit zone. We got credit for the electrical light product. And
Yeah.
then we got credit for the electrical install, the labor,
Yeah,
and the framing of the coffer.
framing, the wood blocking, all that stuff was credited and we came out to a 0 cost change.
No, that's why I was targeting a 0, but I'm actually now at a point where it's at 12,000. I'm seeing what I can do to do that.
12,000 credit,
Yeah.
roughly. How many feet of that stuff were there? Every quarter?
No, this was just at the first floor, area B.
So will all the quarters be the same now? Like pattern?
Kind of, except this one's radial.
Well, this
Right,
one,
right.
yeah, this one is,
So this one was a little
unique.
more challenging, it's a light pattern.
All right. 12K is better than nothing. Thanks, Danny.
Would check one thing, so.
Semi-satisfied.
The next up, you have it for your reading, all of John Jenny's reports. And I think I'm gonna invite him for the next meeting, and he's doing a great job. Whenever there's a problem with ONG, they have not a problem, I should say. Situation.
You might as well not on that.
Yeah.
He's really good. He's helping. The whole team is working and,
Yep,
John
we're getting-
Jenny.
Well, yeah, no, John's always been very straightforward. If he sees something, he says something. He's also realistic. He's got a few more years on than I do, as far as his age and his experience. So he's a good resource for knowledge. And he's works well with the team. We know when he says something, we react to it. He appreciates that. And in addition to John Jenny being there, the construction administrator for SLAM has also, where he was coming down every couple of weeks, he's making his visits more frequent. And that's, that's kind of inherent to getting to a point where we frame and he can see things happening that relate to the interior finishes and putting up MEP. Those are things that, he wants to put his eyes on.
That's Jeff, right?
And that's Jeff.
Yeah.
He's been out several times to look at the mock-up. We've worked through a couple of flashing coordination details on the mock-up. We have another meeting on the mock-up next week to finalize the aluminum shapes that go around the windows that tie into the metal panels and the cement fiber panels. I learned only yesterday that your cement fiber panels come from Europe. And they have a plant shutdown in 3 weeks in July because they're upgrading some of the machinery that's in that plant. So the topic came up because I have them coming with product on the site in the 3rd week of October. And there's a concern with the 3-week shutdown. We looked at the timeline of getting the order, getting it shipped, and then getting it to the fabricator here in the States, and then getting it to the project site. It's probably going to push that by about 7 days. And I don't see an issue with that. It's not a membrane related issue. It's
Where in
just,
Europe?
that I don't know.
Well, Mario and I would fly out and take it. We'll get it close.
Too.
We had a flat coat somewhere.
I have a question on the report. I'm just wondering how far along there was some concern about some drainage and ice buildup. And it's like 519 evaluation petition ongoing. Yeah.
Yeah, they haven't finished that.
That's on Daily Drive, isn't it?
Yeah, as of 519, it's still, it was still.
Yeah, so
It's not icy now, though.
Yeah, I know that,
No,
yes, but
He-
I'm
he-
fixing the problem.
Right, he was out
3 weeks ago.
3 weeks ago.
Yeah, so what he did, when he says he, so it's in combination between Slam and Bennett, the civil engineer. What we have is 2 locations on the existing property that when we remove the trees
Mhm.
and we put in the temporary parking lot by where the sugar shack is, a little bit of water comes off the bank there that we wanted to mitigate now. If it needs to, first of all, just mitigate it for the immediate temporary condition, but also to incorporate some sort of change into the permanent storm feature. And then over at Daily Drive, there's a literal running brook that comes down there, and I don't know how it got into the catch basin before, but it no longer does and just spills into the road. So three weeks ago, we got the rough design. They asked for our input with the site contractor because of the existing conditions that were there. We came together on the best course of action. Slam is producing a set of documents. Our intention is to put that work in place this summer break with an August 15th finish. Not a huge scope of work, but we have to essentially put a French drain, 100 feet of French drain where the sugar shack is. Then we have to add a small inlet structure where the cul-de-sac is, and then tie that into the catch basin that we installed last summer. Yeah.
Any other questions? Next up is the certificate of payment, application number 11. You have a list of contractors. So get paid. As you can see, Berlin Steel, heavy again, and MJ Daly's heavy was up there. Constant work there, and also is the drywall guy. So, and Marguerite,
They're all heavy.
they're all heavy. Yeah. So, possible, could I have a motion to approve the payment of $6,809,208.20? That. Got a second? Second, on. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye, opposed? Next, you're up there about
Oh, it's on next time?
the time.
Yahoo.
Okay. So we have been talking about alternates for just that we had built into the bid documents that we had until July 4th to accept or reject the remaining alternates that are on the project. And so we had asked some of the contractors to go back and relook at their numbers and talk to their subcontractors or vendors to see if they could be extended. And so I got that information, and what is highlighted on this document in a little gray cell on the right side is updated from the one that you have in your packet. And those indicate dates that essentially Fucci, I went back to Fucci and said, okay, these are 2 years out. The building committee has to make a decision, and by contract, we want to accept or reject, but it's hard to make those kind of decisions when you don't know how much money you have, right? We're all concerned about the rate at which the owner's contingency will be utilized, CM contingency will be utilized. So I was able to get extensions on a couple of key points, and then some that we can't. So the ones that are identified in that right column as decision by July 4th, those are the ones that we as a group need to make motion on this evening. And acceptance requires the owner's commitment to payment. And then rejection means that if you choose to buy something that is on this list, the dollar values that were provided on bid day are no longer valid, that we will have to solicit pricing again and pay market rate when we choose to do that.
How does this tie in with the grant? If it does it all? I mean,
So I understand, and I should let Ed speak to the grant as he's more, I don't know much about what's going on with the grant, other than there's been a grant application to try to provide a lot of the items related to the athletic complex.
We applied and Merit can help. The artificial turf is there, the baseball scoreboards are there, the athletic field lights are in it, the exterior stairs are in it, the concrete sidewalks are in it. Those are the items that are in the grant.
so how does that affect our thought process about whether we approve or
Well,
reject?
we can't approve him anyway. We don't have the money for
Money,
it, turf.
right.
So it's kind of a moot point, but basically, if everyone's in agreement, we're going to reject the turf with all those items that he just listed, and then regroup based on whether we get the grant or don't.
So everything,
That's
Well,
up to six.
Except we're gonna hold on the tennis courts, because we don't have to make that decision to 1/24.
That's good.
And we're gonna hold on to
But that too.
the exterior stairs, the sidewalks, the concrete sidewalks, the playground surface, we can make that decision. And why don't you just say, we want to keep what's the original surface?
Right, so in the base bid documents, in your construction cost at this time is a rubber synthetic surface over a compressible material. So it's a nicer finish, frankly, than fiber, which is kind of like bark mulch that you'll find in a lot of play areas. So what the add alternate or what the deduct alternate was, is if you want to go away from the synthetic material and go to that mulch, we have to pour a little bit more concrete to bring that mulch out and provide ADA access into a play yard. And then the savings between the rubber and the fiber mulch. So if you chose that alternate and you went with fiber mulch, you'd save $10,000 in the figure. And again, I've seen both. And the rubbers are really is a lot nicer. And I was actually thinking about that with the small children that are gonna be out there. That mulch is just not something you want them to eat.
We also are gonna hold the vinyl wall covering till August. And the charging stations, there is conduit for the
Charging stations do expire. That pricing is only good. I had a little trouble getting to hold it to this day. So if the decision is to incorporate actual chargers and the wiring and breakers to feed them into the project, you would have to make a motion to accept the EV charging units. Otherwise, that pricing will go away. And if you chose to buy it at some later date through this project, through our contract, the cost will be higher. Like that.
I have a question on that. Is there any other funding for charging stations through the federal government, through private industry that we know of? Like,
I know there's
will Tesla come in and put chargers?
I know that there is, but
Has
it's
to
not
have,
my,
their adapters have to adapt to all vehicles.
Right.
So,
I don't know about Tesla, but there are other funding mechanisms that are, grants that you could apply for,
what I'm
incentives.
right.
yes, there are grants, there is, having the infrastructure in the base and choosing to buy it at some later date is an option for you. I just don't, I have never gone through the process, so I can't speak, with any real experience there.
So,
But Dan, this alternate is just for the raceway, right?
No.
negative, raceway's in.
Raceway fee.
yeah,
In the
Right.
basement.
Oh, yeah.
Raceway being the,
Rip things up later to get whatever.
talk about the actual
Actual
chargers.
charger.
so Dan, if we don't do these chargers, how, what do they look like? I mean, does the asphalt need to be disrupted to put a concrete base in for the charger or whatever the
What
case
I'd
may be?
recommend is, because we don't have the foundations in the base bid, we would recommend if you don't choose to buy the package deal,
Yeah,
that you put in the foundations. There'll be a small cost. There's,
But you don't know what, but depending on what you use for a station, or the foundation may change, right?
I did a little research to look at it. They're basically a 12 by 12 square. 450.
yeah.
It's not a huge foundation base to worry. Good point to be concerned about this. You'd have to field install.
It doesn't have bolts or anything, it's just a concrete slab
Just a-
sitting
Yeah,
there.
you have to.
Is right, you'd end up with
Pot
at least a
bolts.
footing.
You'd
that
have a
goes through the
conduit
ground,
coming up in the center of that.
and you'd bring the conduit up in the middle.
Right,
Yeah.
Right.
And then cap it at the ground.
yeah, like a-
Right, we could come up with the details so that we had a cover
Yeah.
at flush to grade,
yeah.
kind of like a clean out cover in the floor.
If there's another funding source, we can do that later.
So those are the items. So let's go over each one for a motion. The turf is in a grant, but we don't have 2.4 pending, so we have a motion to reject. Right? We have to reject 2.4, have a motion, Pat?
Are we gonna do individually or?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Okay, all right, okay.
Pat,
I'll second.
second, on. Any discussion?
Do I remember talking about how if we anticipated turf in the future, that something different than what was in the base bid needed to be done with the, so we don't, so that isn't reflected in here in any way.
It's not, and it is a decision that you can postpone till later. But an accurate statement would be that if grant money was to come, the way it would be routed to the school or to the Board of Ed
Goes to the city.
or to the city, is that the grass seed, topsoil materials would be then deducted from the contract we have
Get
with
it
the trade.
credit.
But that could happen at any point up to March of 2025.
So we have
Right.
design time or
Yeah.
or scheduling time to.
We could know potentially as early as September.
Right.
And does the same contractor do both? Grass and turf?
To us, yes, but in the
Okay.
field, they have a subcontractor, so.
Okay, so we wouldn't have to.
Well, we're not,
But the grant, if the grant goes through, you would
It's
like,
different
you would bring in
contract.
your own contract outside.
we're not obligated.
Outside of
to
Not
use
obligated.
them.
Use them,
Right.
okay.
They'll give us a credit, leave it the way they leave it.
And then,
And you got it from there.
Right. Go, Eddie.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Next one, scoreboard, that's the grant too. We already have 2 scoreboards in the project. One for the girls softball, one for the boys baseball. So these will be 2 additional ones,
Oh,
okay?
It's actually one.
One additional one.
One more.
And again, this is a hard price that I couldn't get extended, right? This is an alternative. If you don't buy it.
Yep.
Today, you'd have to
No.
buy it later.
Mhm.
And if it helps at all, Ally has a picture of where that scoreboard sits,
Mhm.
because I think there is some confusion as to. There would be no scoreboard for the varsity baseball that I could tell.
Okay.
And I,
Does the same thing apply, Dan, with all the infrastructure in place for it,
yes, well, we.
conduit, et cetera?
so what page then? So for
Keep going.
varsity baseball is not gonna play at Fusion anymore?
We don't know.
Yeah, we don't know.
We don't know.
So I don't see a highlight. I
Certainly
think
help the
the
ability
the
for
second
sure,
page of that,
right?
second digital page too.
Pages. Unless there's like,
Okay, so right in the middle of the 2 fields, if you zoomed in. Oh, there we go. Okay, so you have a scoreboard that faces your softball field, but the yellow highlighted scoreboard faces the varsity baseball.
that's the one we're voting on right
And
now.
that's the one you're talking about, right?
So without it, baseball has no scoreboard currently?
That's what I got out of it.
Okay,
Correct.
so there would be no scoreboard. And is this just the score and at bat, or is this video or anything else?
No, no
missing?
video. This
Okay,
is
gotcha.
your, home visitors type of scenario. Inning,
And this is on the varsity field.
Right, if you were to pan right on the
Doesn't mean
page,
that
you'll see
JV
that your
can't
varsity
play.
baseball.
no, not at all.
So,
We have a JV field. We have two baseball fields.
right, but what I'm saying is if varsity is playing at Fusion,
Correct.
then JV can use that.
Right,
So, and there's no scoreboard on JV field.
correct.
Correct. I don't recall seeing them.
No, and that's not needed for sure.
Right.
This one's a
Right,
tough-
right.
This
That's what I'm
one's a
saying.
tough one.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm saying, that it could be utilized even if it's not varsity, it can be utilized by JV.
Oh, sure.
Right.
Yeah,
Since baseball does not have it.
I mean, listen, JV, 8th, 7th and 8th graders could play in that diamond, everybody.
But this is a varsity scoreboard, is that
It
correct?
doesn't matter.
Well, this is the varsity field.
Field, so-
You know,
okay.
Traditionally, that field down near the apartments is called the JV field.
Right,
So that's what we keep calling it.
Yeah.
But really, they're both gonna be good fields. They're,
Very good, very good. fields.
the JV field, very good.
Very
fields,
good field.
Right, we're just trying to improve on it.
Yeah.
The JV field though, Armand,
Mhm.
near the apartments will have a fence around it,
Okay,
because that's incorporated to the multi-purpose field.
got it.
Which in JV baseball is not a big deal.
Right.
So we're gonna call that the varsity field, just for
Right.
the sake of labeling it.
well, it would be a Title IX issue too, right, wouldn't it? If the softball field has.
Uh,
the other way.
varsity Baseball does not,
It would be the other way if baseball had it in.
but I thought both
No,
both
no,
sexes are supposed to
equality is
be.
equality.
Yeah, both sexes are supposed to have the
But
same.
what happens now is that the varsity plays at Futures, which has lights
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, no, I was just,
and
I just
scoreboard.
want to make sure there was no. Insinuation that we didn't do the same for both,
no,
for both teams.
I get you what you're saying, yeah.
There is no, there's no scoreboard for the JV softball
Correct.
field, and there is no scoreboard for the JV baseball field. The difference here is that because the varsity team often plays at Fuchs Park,
But they play all the games there.
Yeah,
Okay.
as of
they
now.
always
That's right.
play at Fuchs
Yeah,
Park.
they do.
at first the scoreboard wasn't. Well,
Yeah.
because of cost constraints and things, we realized that that scoreboard might not be needed.
Okay.
Do we pay for the kids to
For
pay
Fuchsia's part?
usage?
Yeah,
We do,
$200,
$200. I think it is.
200 and something.
A game?
Yes.
A game of
Yeah,
practice.
it's for the,
Yeah.
for them to come and line the field and stuff like that.
No.
Yeah. For the staff to line the field and be there and all that stuff. Just like
Oh, no,
the use of
Good
the
point.
school buildings, Board of Ed charges for custodian and whatnot. That's kind of like the same thing.
It's the
They-
city
they-
charging the Board of Ed.
Well, they do, just as the Board of Ed would charge anybody else to come in and use the school. Correct? Like to pay for the custodian.
I don't think we charge the city, but
Yeah.
just
Um,
saying.
Well, yeah, if you have a staff member there, you're gonna have to charge the city to.
If somebody uses the inside of the building, they get charged, but people use the fields at Torrington High School without being charged. And that's, you know, that's something that probably should change. And it's okay if it's Torrington youth soccer, but if it's an outside group, they should pay.
Right.
Right.
Yes, sir.
The 95,000 on the scoreboard, is that the whole thing, infrastructure and power as well, or is that just the scoreboard? It would make sense if you have it in the grant. You probably put the infrastructure for it, data and, power, so that it's there already.
Yeah, oh, yeah, we
Your
definitely.
infrastructure is part of the base.
Base bid.
It is.
That's already in
Okay.
there.
Race or conduit will be brought out to that location, terminated in a box, in a subgrader.
So it could be added.
It could be added.
Yeah.
So,
that's-
Dave, I'm sorry, Dan. Dave made a good point, though.
Note that.
They,
It's a backhanded compliment.
I know,
No seats, no stands really, right? Like Fuchsia says.
right.
Not that it's the end of the world, but Fuchsia's it's like a minor league ballpark. So I'm sure they're gonna want to continue to play there. But maybe they play half the games at home. I don't know.
Do we have the
When I
money?
say home, I mean here.
We have the money.
Well, it's real early, that's why.
It's an interesting point to make.
Well, I was just saying.
Good, as far as where we are.
We can start the discussion.
Well, right this minute, we have it.
Yeah,
So currently, I did want to bring this up. So currently, we started our project with about 3.6 million in CM contingency, at-risk contingency. We returned some of that at buyout, and then we returned it again when we bought out the last package. So I'm currently at about 3.3, and I have a significant hit similar to that, similar to the item that I described for the thermal paints. We are going to expand and relocate the driveway that drives up to Major Bessie Drive, because we are running out of footprint. And we found that logistically, we need to do some work in order to tie in the building to site work utilities. But to answer the question specifically is, currently my projected value at my contingency is about 3.05, even though it's your money yet. If there's about 3.05 million remaining in that value. I did a quick analysis of cost burn rate, we call it, where I've gone to date. I would say at the end of the project, you're looking at somewhere around 1.2 to 1.4 million that we may have at the end of the job. That's where we stand. That's where I can provide input to you as far as what I feel will be utilized. On the owner side, the contingency has.
You get this.
2.8. And I've mentioned in the report that there's a $270,000 hit that's gonna come to that. So financially, that's where you're at.
Here, I guess I would look at it this way too, with an alternate like this. It is simply a widget, right? It is a very easy thing that in a year from now,
We could
or
buy.
20 months from now, when we're in a much better position, you can still. The school district could solicit, or we could solicit a couple different people, get a price again.
Remember the
Worst case is,
football-
does it go up $1,000 or $2,000 to
See, I think
hang on
this
to
is,
that money now and make a decision when you're.
I
better
think
informed?
this is way high.
Yeah.
We purchased the football.
The
Scoreboard,
Asherman,
Ashelman gave us $20,000.
$25,000
covered it.
bucks.
Yeah.
The other thing is that you're gonna be in a position where you have to make a decision on the tennis courts in January.
Yeah.
And that's something we're not gonna have a choice, and we're not
Correct.
gonna add that later on. It's gonna
Right.
go in at
Yeah.
that time.
Yeah.
It's a
So,
different thing.
So,
It's a different.
So, I mean, that's 150, I'd rather hold off. and-
yes.
Yes.
But it's,
Looking at the comparison of those two items.
Yeah.
It makes the 95 seem super high.
It is.
So-
Yes.
Just one other question about scoreboard. So are the scoreboards, the softball and the baseball, would they be in the same vicinity? Would it be the ideal to wire it?
They're already gonna be
They're
wired.
already gonna be wired. It just won't be.
You
a
just gotta
scoreboard
put the
on-
thing
okay,
in.
so-
Right.
That's in the base.
Bolt it to the,
So this is just for the scoreboard.
Scoreboard, which I think is expensive.
That sounds a little.
And,
Yeah.
and providing the electricity to get it.
Well,
Yeah,
oh,
you
wait,
have to pull it through.
I thought-
The conduit is in the.
Conduit is in the
base
base,
field.
okay.
Yeah.
But sometimes I bought in Wallingford, I bought 2 scoreboards that were solar.
Oh,
And that's the other benefit.
Yes. Which works out perfect.
Right.
with this Nike.
It's automatic. It's like we had.
Stored. Yes.
It worked. It's just like outside your outside house. You have the lights, so it goes on, it's.
yeah.
So, all right,
So I
so,
make a motion that we reject.
Yeah.
right on, that's what we're looking for.
So
John and
I have a
Pat?
quick question.
Question,
I apologize, it's a million years off, but just really quick, are the tennis courts currently funded or is that tied to a grant?
We're
When
gonna talk about
when the
those
time
next.
comes?
yeah,
We're gonna talk about those next.
Oh, okay, sorry. I thought that was, we weren't gonna talk about
No
that for
worries.
several months.
No, we're gonna talk about it.
Okay,
Donna, have a second?
Sorry.
Pat. This is a motion to reject. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Next one is the tennis courts. Mary and I have been talking about this. They gave us a number, January. We really think that we need those 2 tennis courts for
by all accounts, and Dave's
Yeah.
daughter plays tennis. It's a death march.
Not for me. So-
It's a death march when you only have 4 courts for a high school tennis
Yeah, it
match.
is.
It just takes forever and ever and ever and ever.
and also,
First when you have three.
Yeah,
and also remember, city council always wanted us to have additional tennis courts.
Yeah.
And that was by Paul Cavanero.
right.
I
So,
think it just makes sense.
yes, I agree, and
We can hold off until.
Yeah.
Table.
yeah, tabled.
We don't have to do action because it's January, so it's stable. The next one is the lights
At the multi-purpose.
service, bill, right?
Yeah.
Which is in the grant, but it's 468,000, which we don't have.
And again, that cost will expire from the electrical contractor that we have under contract. But a couple of points, again, the infrastructure is there. It requires a control panel. It's a pretty extensive, cost to put in the lights in the future, but. 1, your infrastructure is there. 2, it's potentially in the grant money
Correct.
that you may get. And it's a lot to. commit
Again,
to.
the grant. Over 5 years, they have put away $875,000, $175,000 each year. Only 55 communities can get the grant. Last year, they had. I think it was 94 winners. So a town like Torrington could get 2 grants, and so forth. So they had,
So if we don't get the grant in September, we're gonna reapply.
Right.
In December.
Yeah.
So we got a couple cracks at it before we have to
yeah,
say we're not gonna have lights or we're not gonna have turf and.
Yeah.
So,
Can we just table this then?
oh, we gotta turn it down.
we gotta reject.
So somebody make a motion.
Motion to reject. Pat. Second, John,
So stairs could be taken.
any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Next one, exterior stairs,
That's tabled. right? So
that's tabled, yeah, we don't have to talk.
Concrete sidewalk.
Concrete sidewalks tabled, the concrete sidewalks at the courtyard is tabled, the playground. We as they talked about, we'd rather reject this and keep what the
Yes,
the
Rubber.
rubber.
rubber, the rubber.
Have a motion to reject this alternate,
Someone.
on that,
Patty and Armand.
yeah, Pat. Discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, okay. The next one, that's pending on 8/18. That's, remember, the coverings graphics in the
Gymnasium.
gymnasium and the media
Couple
center.
areas, right? Yeah.
Right.
That's right.
The last one is the charging stations.
Make a motion to reject.
Thank you. Second,
Second.
it's John,
Yep. And that'll give us time to
right, see where we go.
see where we can get money for it. So.
Any discussion?
I would just, you're gonna, you throw in the bases for them, they are 24 by 24 inch bases for most charge point stations.
Okay,
Yeah, we'll find
they'll
out
take a
what
look at it.
would be the best
They'll have to come
foundation.
back with a change.
Probably, we'll have a small change to add the footings and foundation.
Yeah.
And then figure out a way to bring that to surface.
Yeah, I think it's 24 by 24 and they have to be 6 inches.
So maybe hold on. It's probably good.
Yeah, it's the charge point. ones.
Chargers.
The charge.
That's a pretty common one for level 2.
Okay, we have a motion and second, and a discussion. All in favor of rejecting this, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Next. PCOs. We'll go over them. Not many. The first one is a VE item. We deleted some summer break work, so no cost. The next one was the iPhone credit of $1,300. The next one was another. This is, as Dan said, this is out of their contingency for the thermal paint. Next one is the wiring of the kitchen equipment. You want to just make a comment about that?
So the serving lines required an extra conductor that wasn't in the base bid document. It was caught when we were comparing the demand loads for what are each of these pieces of stainless that are in the kitchen servery area have their own little load center panel box. And so when we were analyzing to make sure that appropriate loads were provided and that the circuit breakers were big enough, we noted back to the engineering group that we were missing a conductor from the contract documents. It's not cost to pull an extra wire.
The next one is the that he discussed, the fire pump breaker.
Yes, the pump needs more power than what was in the base box. Yeah, the cost on that
36.
particular one is 36,307.
307. Can I have a motion to approve all of the PCOs that are listed?
So moved.
On second,
Second.
John. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Okay. Okay, next one, you'll have a letter from SLAM. Going through the building, Brian's going through the building. There's been some changes in some design. Remember, you approved the ed specs on September 1st, 2022. Since that time, there's been additional services required, program offerings, increased staff, and increased enrollment. So I don't know if Amy, you want to just go over your letter?
Sure. So, as is customary at this time of the project, I've been meeting with staff and administration for furniture design meetings. And as we meet to discuss the furniture layouts and talk about what's going on in each of the rooms, we've also learned of new programs that are being offered. And this is in particular in the high school side, although in the middle school side, there were some changes as well, but we were able to accommodate those in the layout that was given. In the high school side, because there's been an increase in enrollment, and because that meant that there's also additional staff. For example, you have a dean of students now. There was no dean of students when we did the programming for the building. We need to add an office. There's an additional translator. There's something called a BCB.
BCBA.
Thank you. Behaviors, yeah. So there's been a number of staff additions that we'd like to accommodate in advance of the final construction. And then a few other curriculum offerings, additional art classes, additional music classes. As a part of having additional enrollment, then you have to add some of those electives, right? And I think anything else are
There was some
described
of those
here.
additions
Mhm.
are subtractions from what we had in the ed specs. So, you know, if we had 4 classrooms of
Health.
health, they only need 2. So art and science could take over those 2 and so forth. So there was a
As an
exchange.
example, yes.
The building's not getting bigger.
No,
No, we're not growing the building,
Yeah.
but we are trying to accommodate those programs by squeezing them.
yeah, one of the other ones was the cafeteria. Even though we divided it, saying it's only 336 kids, that doesn't work out, Brian says. I don't know why. So we, where the faculty dining room is, it's now gonna be the cafeteria, and they had to move the faculty dining room.
Right, so we're gonna expand the cafeteria size somewhat to accommodate more students. We did all along understand that, but Brian pointed it out, that even when you have 3 waves of lunch, you may not have the exact same number of students in each wave. The dining hall at the time of design could accommodate 336 students, Ed's right on the money. We thought we were designing for 1,001 students. And as of next year, you'll have 1,100. And we want to be sure that we're building a school that will accommodate even more growth if needed, right? So this new design will let us accommodate about 400 or so students per lunch wave. It gives more flexibility and convenience for scheduling so that one lunch wave might have more students than another based on their electives.
Would that mean 3 lunch waves as opposed to 4?
Yeah.
Okay, and how many square feet are we adding for the cafeterias?
So we're adding the size of the faculty dining room. I'm gonna estimate that's about 700 or 800 square feet. The size of a classroom is my guess. I can firm up that number.
And where's the faculty lunch?
So they'll slide down the hall and take over one of what we found was an extra, thank God, health classroom.
Yeah, that's right. We didn't need all the health classrooms when they first did it in 2022. So
I'm sorry, we've been at this for a long time, haven't we?
Yeah.
When did we have the referendum? Was it 22 or 23? It was 21, I mean, right?
Which one, the original one?
The
The second.
second referendum.
Oh, the second referendum was just.
21.
21, I think.
January 22.
January of
January
2022.
22.
22. So that referendum where we asked for more money
Accommodated
was based on increased enrollment projections. Are
Correct.
you saying there was an additional
Mhm.
projection that shows more?
Right.
Because at that time, we had our peak of 24, 25. I thought it was over 1,000 anyway.
It was just over 1,000 and next year.
Yeah,
It's-
we're at our peak enrollment this year, we were at 1,025. And will be significantly larger next year. Our outgoing senior class is about, well, depending on, some students may not come to the high school, but we should be looking at about 75 more students coming into the high school based on the incoming freshmen versus the outgoing.
Right now, as of June 19th, when class ended, there was 1,002 kids. Okay, now at the middle school, because we have a number of kids that may go to Alahoka Tech, Region 6, Region 7, Highland School,
Yeah.
and so forth. So there could be between we could range 1,027 to 1,051, my projections of what are we getting, but we won't know that till August when everybody signs their letters of and
We just finished our master schedule and it's for 1,100 students.
A lot of students are staying now in this
Yeah.
in hopes, I think, of inheriting.
What do you say? I didn't hear.
1,100 is what we had to build the master schedule off.
So it's
I think that's a trend that's gonna continue.
Yeah, it's,
So.
once they,
this will-
Yeah.
sorry,
Go ahead.
no,
This will also then impact furniture.
Slightly,
Potentially.
yes, I mean, the furniture package hasn't been ordered yet. So we're gonna try to maintain the same budget that was originally given for furniture. We're not furnishing more square footage, we're changing
Right,
the
mostly a
furniture,
shuffling,
right? So
Yeah.
Right,
the
but
same furniture that we had in the faculty dining room will be in the new faculty dining room. We'll add a few chairs and
Right.
tables to the cafeteria.
right, okay.
and we've been working for at least 2 months on the furniture. I want to finish it by the end of summer, so we can go out to bid and get that done. That includes all the AV equipment, all the telephones, all the access points, and all the furniture. So it's
Right, it's furniture and technology.
furniture and technology, right?
Yeah.
So it's, I want to get that out. So we have, it's just like when we went to Legere, we did all of the casework. We had a spot, he brought us in the spot and he's making all of it, which helps us out tremendously.
So Brian, you were talking, I'm sorry, that was the high school projection.
Yep.
And Sue, do you know the middle school projection?
Probably gonna be about 331 per grade, so if you figure maybe 300, that's usually what we figure
Yeah.
each year, so.
Yeah.
Still, it's gonna be high.
Yeah.
Um,
Right now, the 6th grade is 322 and the 7th grade is 308. Yeah. People are staying.
mhm, Exactly.
So can we, of course, I shouldn't say, of course, slap me down, okay? Can we approve, price of not to exceed $20,000 to do all the changes that have to be done with the walls and so forth?
It's the design
Design.
of that,
Oh,
not inclusive of the construction cost.
You know,
boy,
I would hate to take all Slam's money from anyone else. They're entitled to the design.
Pat, second,
Second.
I'm on,
And I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Because we're still in the discussion, right?
yeah,
So with the, because now we're close to 2,000. Kids,
Yeah.
almost. The square footage ratio that we were so concerned about, which drove going to the referendum, I mean, are we all good with that? Or does that affect anything? I mean, we're not changing the footprint, so we're
No.
really not asking. Yeah,
Analysis of that.
and we're still good.
No, no way to get more money from the state.
Yes.
well, you've done pretty well negotiating with the state for your reimbursement,
you saw
but
the article in the Hartford Current. Hartford is looking for $61 million, they stopped their project. Yeah.
Yeah, this is the way of the world.
We were very fortunate because the state told us we were the only town, city that was proactive in going to them first and saying, hey, we got more kids, we got this, will you approve it? And they said, yes, but now Hartford's 61 million. Don't know what they're gonna do. So. Any other discussion?
No.
no.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Next one is, you got it, I just think it's the greatest thing since, kosher pickles.
I knew it was gonna be something like that.
Definitely not solicited.
Mary and I, we're so happy with the kids who are working on the project. There's the articles, it's just amazing, and now, we have 8 more that they're looking to put in very shortly. And then 8 more who are waiting to graduate. So hopefully out of the 16, at least we'll get 10 so forth the next year. So and the pictures, the articles, and the last picture of the guy signing the beam is
So how many Torringtonians we have out there now? Do we know?
Well, there are 6 at least, and I think a couple of others are coming because of the Mason.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, we talked at one point, we had 9.
yeah,
I would say, I thought the number was around 10.
We did, one of the gals no longer works on the project.
Okay, so there was 10, right? At one time.
There was 10.
Yeah, I think that's what, that's the number I remember.
Yeah. so if we can get, there's 16 looking.
Mhm.
It's just a win-win for everybody, I think, so. And the woman at the Waterbury paper is very nice. She comes out, does with both articles. Can't ask for more of that. So.
Good.
We'll keep you informed. Next one up. Analysis of payments. Okay, I just want to, you got it just to tell you where it is, and then if you. I just did a short budget summary.
You need a couple more. Okay. Just 2.
2.
Yes, please.
And is this a recap of what this?
Yeah,
This is a summarization of what.
correct. It's a summarization of everything, so you have it, the architectural fees, the professional fees, construction costs, FF&E, owner's contingency, where we stand on the bottom, just shows you where the breakdown is for ONG, 147,000, and so forth. I just did a rough calculation between Dan's figures and our figures, and we're off by 0.0003. 3/10 of 3 million. Something.
Yeah, what's that 3? Please don't spend any time or money looking for that.
No.
No, I'm talking to Dan.
Oh, so,
That's funny. That's exactly what I said to Ed.
yeah. Oh, no. So just let you know where we stand. I did send an email to the mayor, Lindsay, who's your finance guy, and to Dan Farley, just to remind them to go over, because last month they were late in their payment to state, took them almost 3 additional months to get us the payment. We hope it doesn't happen again, so that's why I'm getting things together to send to the mayor to show her that we may need an additional a band because they're behind in payment, and we want to pay the contractors. So this month, there's no problem. There's money in the bank. Hopefully in July, we get another payment of $8 million, which covers that. But after that, if they're not forward thinking, they'll need at least an additional band.
And I had a couple of questions on that. So the state was moved to every 2 months.
Every other month, but what
Every
happened
other
was
month, right?
they didn't, because of the structure up there, when the guy was
Yeah.
let go and all of that
Yeah.
stuff, it took us from January to May.
It was just recently we got it.
Correct.
I remember that.
Yeah, so that's. And
Yeah.
the man knows about it. I sent her a note, so,
That's a lot of money
Yeah.
to not have.
correct.
The other question is, did you find out, because I asked the question, because I heard that they were dropping the holdback from 11% to 5%?
I haven't,
And I don't know if that's accurate.
I'll find out. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I mean, that would be good to know.
yes, yeah.
Because that would give us
Right
real
now, we're
numbers.
looking at 11%.
we're at 11%
Yeah.
holdback, and 5%
It's- yeah.
is a lot different.
Yeah, I can't imagine you're gonna do that, but that's what I heard too.
And I was like, I heard this back in around this, no, it was not December, it was around February or March.
We could play with that 6% for a while.
Oh, yeah. They haven't yet. So I just want to give you that synopsis, so that's where we are.
Right.
Next is payment of invoices. The first one is Innovative Engineering at $845.70. Can I have a motion to approve that? Second,
I'll second.
on. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? The next one is B and L, just so you know, their monthly is $7,161 for the whole month. He's only averaging 7.75 hours a week. We have 10 hours in budget, so. And he's doing, and I'm gonna invite him to the next meeting, I think. So can I have a motion to approve B and L Company, $7,161. On. Second? Second, Donna? Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? The next one is Slam. Motion to approve 67,000. Kemp almost fell off the seat. $67,625. Have a motion to approve.
So moved.
John and Almond. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. The next one is all of Tri-States, which comes to a total of $31,172.25. Before I go, any discussion with them? Have they been? Yeah,
No, it's performing well for you.
yeah, they are. They're out there almost every day and they're doing a good job.
What was Tri-State again?
Yeah, there's multiple.
Multiples, yeah. Yeah, I
That's
get
both sets?
that both sets, yes. I get their analysis and it's packed.
Yeah,
So I put them all in Midgeon Avenue in a file folder, so if somebody wants to look at it.
midnight and 1 AM.
Yeah, it's good, it's good. So, got a motion to pay Tri-State a total of $31,172.25.
So moved.
Yeah, on second,
Second.
John. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Comments of the good of the order? You have any comments?
Just thought I had a chance to take the tour with Dan and it was amazing to see the progress of the building. It was a lot, great pleasure being there and great work you guys are doing.
Doug?
Thank you for all your work on this. The building looks fantastic.
That's great. Kemp,
Very excited.
Yeah.
Progress. Thank you for all your work.
Donna.
Just question, injuries are still low?
Yeah,
True.
yeah, we didn't have any. this month.
Yeah, no, there hasn't been one in since that one fellow who fell,
Right.
went off site,
The one girl slammed her finger.
Yeah.
That's
Right.
about it, right?
Yes.
right?
Thank you.
That is good.
Yes, it's,
A lot of dangerous work going on.
Yeah.
there.
I'm good.
Have a nice 4th of July. We'll do more tours.
yes,
Yeah, we'll do
Yeah.
more tours, middle of July.
yeah,
around.
but yeah, just a couple of things I have. As you talked about, we had our insurance travelers came out. We walked around with everybody from ONG and
Our
so forth.
safety team was
Safety
there.
team was there,
Intended
And they were waiting for their report, but I think there's no problem. Also, I want to give a shout out to the kids who came on with that
Bag lunches.
no, we haven't, but the students who walked around
Oh.
during
yes.
lunchtime,
Class.
the class.
Yeah.
2 weeks later, they came with 100 bags of goodies for all the workers. With little sayings on the
Yeah.
bags.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Bottle of water,
Bottle of
chips.
water, a bag of chips in a bag and a small candy bag. But what was kicker was a personal note.
Yes.
Each kid wrote a personal note, either on the sticky or
On the bag. And the workers were just, they couldn't believe
You
it.
can't, I mean, that's the pride that the guys put into their job, every day, guys and gals,
Yeah, and that's,
and they don't get that kind of positive reinforcement. from-
and it was really nice.
That was really nice.
It's,
Shout out to the teacher and the students.
and the students, 100 bags. They delivering them, people coming in.
Oh, yeah, boxes.
Boxes of it, yeah, that's our kids,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's,
That's great news.
yeah, it's the kids,
And the staff.
yeah, it's- so we're lucky. Dan,
Nothing from me.
John.
Efficient meeting, thank
Thanks.
Thank you. It's been a privilege
Yes.
and an honor to be here. with all of
Last
you.
meeting,
This
right?
is my last meeting.
Yeah.
I'm coming back to do some
Yeah.
tours, but you
I
know,
hope
you're an
so.
awesome group.
And here is a little picture from you.
I'll take.
Yes.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Thanks.
Enjoy your retirement.
Yes.
Oh,
The
Kathy,
meeting, I
anything?
took a ride up when I heard the crane
Oh.
came down. I had to go up and just like see what it all looked. I was blown away by that structure that's all with the
Yeah.
auditorium. I couldn't believe it. I took my mom through and, you know, she's 92 and she just is so, we had to drive around and back so she could see what's gonna happen with the old high school and of course, you know, I went there, so she's, and but she couldn't believe, she said, I just can't believe it. We take frequent rides up Route 8 just to look at. It's
Something.
amazing. It's such a tremendous looking building. So thank you for designing that for us and for all the hard work you're all putting into it. And just finally, Torrington has always had great kids and some of the best teachers I ever worked with in my entire career. So we're blessed.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, people tend to hang their hat on a negative.
Yeah.
They do.
And look at the 10 kids who were working on the project, you know,
I know.
getting paid.
Yeah.
A great job.
It's great. So
Uh,
thank you, everybody.
Your career. Yeah, yeah. Elvis is there. Elvis. I love Elvis.
So he hasn't left the building.
Elvis in the building.
Thank you, and thank you for the explaining everything, so I personally can understand.
And he's a good man. He knows the job.
It's nice to see all of you. I know I can't stop into these meetings very often, but I really appreciate everything you all continue to keep showing up and doing. And the tour was fabulous. I got to go on with Jeff, so thank you for that. And just nice to see you all.
And thank you for your support.
Yes,
On our month too.
Yes.
That's a
on
level.
the council, we appreciate that. vote.
Arthur rolled his eyes, so I didn't have to too.
You know, you know.
Leave it at that.
Yeah. it's- Marissa?
I missed you.
Yes, yes. Thanks for coming because I always write little things for her. Ally, anything?
I'll definitely take you up on a tour. I haven't had one, so I'm like super excited.
Oh,
You gotta check it out. It's
Yeah.
awesome.
So let's shoot for middle of July
Yeah,
or so. And
the next meeting is July 20th. You want to do before that?
Sure. Let's pencil in right now. What's the date on the meeting?
Thursday, July 20th.
Thursday, July 20th. So why don't we do, if it's okay with Danny Boy? Well, I think we did like Monday and Tuesday.
Yeah, right,
So
yeah.
let's just 18th then. Okay. Let's do Monday the 17th.
Yeah.
At 4 o'clock.
Okay,
So the job is cleared out for the most
Yeah.
part. And Tuesday, the 18th.
okay, at 4 o'clock.
Mr. Mortenty's birthday.
Oh,
That's all I have on the calendar.
they'll probably be taking the day off.
Yeah,
So 4 o'clock and we'll connect on who's
Yeah.
coming and
yeah, I'll send a note out, just to remind everybody. After the 5th, I'll remind everybody.
well, I love taking those tours. I try to go once a week. I drive my car through there like it's
Unbelievable.
like a 4-wheeler, but
Usually park it right in the middle.
I'm gonna need a new car by the time the project's over.
You're gonna get a few flat tires.
I already got one.
Why don't you take the?
I'm half expecting another one today because I drove around
Why
today.
don't you take the?
No, I just.
I don't want to uncover it. It looks so nice.
No, I have John uncovered. 2 ways.
Yeah, I figured. All right. so-
Any other things for the good of the order? Okay, can I have a motion to adjourn at 6:32.
Oh, hold on, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
1 second. I put a message on Facebook. I neglected to say one thing. I want to say it for the 4 people who are listening.
Yeah.
The driveway's closed.
Correct.
Major Best is closed. I got a call yesterday from Park and Rec. How are we gonna use the pool parking lot? But the pool parking lot is accessible.
Yes, it is.
So I just want anybody who's listening and anybody who could pass that along.
The lower part is open.
Right,
But you
Right,
can't go.
correct. You could pull into Major Best and right into the pool parking area, but you can't go beyond that. And I neglected to say that on Facebook.
Also is in the water, she put it in Waterbury paper.
Yeah.
So, and it's a big
The
sign
pool's probably opening
when.
They're working on it.
Saturday.
July 1st.
Saturday,
This Saturday, right?
but it's gonna pour for a week, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Okay, have a motion to adjourn at 6:33. Don,
Second.
second. Armand. Okay, next meeting, July 20th, and I'll send a note around about the walkthrough on the 17th and 18th. Thank you very much. Have a great.
Hey, everybody.